Welcome back to Grasping the Gridiron. As always, I'm your host, Zach Thummel, and today we'll be going over the Week 4 college football games to watch and some expectations for the rest of the season and the following weeks to come. So the first game we'll start with is a PNW game, a local game. It's Oregon State versus Oregon in the Civil War, the battle at Autzen Stadium. And this one will be at noon tomorrow, and quite frankly, looking at the spread here, it's Oregon minus 35.5, and Oregon State's 0-3, and Oregon's 3-0. Two teams that are off to really, opposed starts and opposite starts. And so, when you look at the teams just, from a record level and who they've played, it's obviously pretty even across the board, and in fact, I'd probably give the edge to Oregon State. But it's just one of those things that is unfortunately going to happen as time progresses, where we're going to see maybe a larger separation between the battle of the haves and have-nots. But getting into the stats here, Oregon, they average over 503 yards a game as an offense, which ranks 18th in the FBS. And running the ball, they're averaging 247 yards a game, which is 11th. And then just in points per game, they're putting up 54 points per game through 3 games, which is third in the FBS. So this is an offense that is potent. They've found some weapons. Dante Moore looks great so far. DeCorian Moore looks great so far. It'll be really interesting to see how they continue to grow that wide receiver room, and how the running back room progresses as well, because they've been going with a multitude of guys. And defensively as well, they're 24th in yards per game with 256, only giving up 133 passing yards a game, and only giving up 10 points per game. So those passing and scoring numbers are good for 19th and 14th in the country, respectively. So Oregon, all around, looks phenomenal to start the season. One of, if not the best teams in the country. Anyone that they go up against, they've dominated. And Oregon State's been quite the opposite. Just looking at this here, they're putting up 71 rushing yards a game, which is 132nd in the nation. Scoring, they're putting up 18.7 points a game, which is 115th in the country. And then defense, they're giving up 424 yards a game, 111th or 112th in the FBS. Passing, they're giving up 277 yards a game, 121st in the FBS. And then scoring is 38.3 points a game, which is 129th in the FBS. So when you look at and you compare the overall offense and defense, and then you break it down into those subcategories, Oregon is just absolutely dominating Oregon State. And Oregon State has had some opportunities to play, the lesser teams to a certain extent, and they just have looked god awful. And so the question here is not if Oregon's going to win this game, but if Trent Bray can keep Oregon State in the game. And I've got Oregon taking this one 42-14 in Autzen. The second game to watch here is another local game, and that's Washington versus Washington State here in Martin Stadium at 4:30 tomorrow. And looking at the spread, it's Washington minus 25.5. And, getting into the numbers here, Washington is seventh in overall offense, fourth in rushing, and third in scoring. They're putting up 568 yards per game as an offense, 305 yards on the ground, and 54 points per game. So, I mean, they're top 10 in those offensive categories. And then looking at the defensive side of the ball, they've fared fairly well as well, with 241 yards per game given up on overall, and 80.5 rushing yards per game on the ground. So 19th and 16th respectively there for Washington, to give them a 2-0 record so far. And comparing Washington State, just offensively, just been god awful to start the year. No identity, especially in the run game, and they're putting together about 294 yards per game, which is good for 120th in the FBS, and then throwing the ball, they're putting up 225 yards a game, which is 72nd. Not as bad, but still not ideal. And then running the ball, they're putting up 68.7 yards per game, which is 133rd in FBS, and just a lackluster 19.7 points per game in scoring, which is 110th in FBS. So yeah, Washington State hasn't had an identity offensively outside of the San Diego State game, and so this is going to be huge against their rival to be able to get that going and right the ship. And when you look at the defense for WSU, 282 yards per game, 40th in the FBS. Passing the ball, they're giving up 137 yards per game, which is 22nd in the nation. So all things considered, the pass defense looks phenomenal, at least on paper. And it has looked phenomenal, other than outside of the Texas or the North Texas game. So that'll be really interesting to see how Rogers and the staff adjust with that positive note there. Um, and just looking at this game across the board, if Washington State's at home, they're going to have the power of the crowd. If they can play well defensively and not shoot themselves in the foot offensively, there's a real shot that they stay in this game, and win this game, especially with it being a rivalry. But I'm going to take Washington in this one. And then to close out here, we're looking at a few national games. The first one, and the one that I think is going to be the most impactful on the season, is 3-0 Texas Tech versus 3-0 Utah at Rice Eccles Stadium there in Salt Lake City. This one's going to be at 9 a.m. tomorrow. First off, Devin Dampier, he leads Utah in passing and rushing, completed 73% of his passes, and is looking to help keep the Utes averaging above or around 45 points a game so far to start the year. Devin Dampier just looks phenomenal. He makes the move over to Utah, accompanied with Wayshawn Parker from Washington State, and a variety of other guys through the portal. They've been off to a great start, just looking like one of the best teams in the country. Kyle Whittingham's really, really just been a solid presence in college football and a guy that's consistently been dominant. So I'm really excited to see how this team looks against Texas Tech and Baron Morton, who has completed about 70% of his passes as well. And just has really been a stud to start the season, and has Tech looking, like one of the better teams in the country, especially when you can consider, their haul and the transfer portal and how those guys are playing, which leads me right into their defense and David Bailey, the edge. He's got 2.5 sacks through 3 games, and I think he's going to continue his monster campaign. And this is going to be such a really great game to watch early, and I'm taking Utah in this one. But yeah, this is going to be a monumental game. And then the next one is Illinois at Indiana at IU Memorial Stadium, and this one's at 4:30 p.m. And to me, this one's all about Kurt Signetti and this fundamental Indiana team versus a fundamental defense and run game Illinois squad. And this is a big game for the Big Ten. It could have it will have playoff implications. So be on the lookout for Illinois versus Indiana tomorrow at 4:30. And then our third national game here is Auburn against Oklahoma. Both teams 3-0 as well. This one at the Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium there in Norman, Oklahoma. And this one's at 12:30 p.m. And The only thing I got to say about this one is John Mateer. He's the leading Heisman front runner. I think at this point through three games, isn't saying an incredible, which isn't saying incredibly much, but he's definitely been the best player in college football so far, and we see the impact he's made on this Oklahoma team, and this is going to be a big SEC matchup, and John Mateer is going to be the talk of the town for that game and moving forward. And then our last one here is 1-2 Florida versus Miami. Florida coming off of a loss to the University of South Florida. This game at Hard Rock Stadium, home game for Miami at 4:30 p.m. tomorrow. And my big question for this one is, what is Florida? Not necessarily, what Miami looks like in this game, but how does Florida respond from USF, and how does the state of Florida, use this as an opportunity and a springboard? Because Florida and Miami have both looked good to start the year, except for Florida's loss to South Florida. And even that South Florida loss, it's to a team from Florida. And so I think what this shows to me is that the state of Florida is back in terms of retaining talent. And I'm really excited to see what individually the University of Florida can do in this game, because I think if they can win this and right the ship, everything's still on the table for them. Florida's just such an integral part of college football, and like I said, the greater question is going to be where do they go as a program from here, and where is that going to come from, and what are they going to build on? Thank you for listening to Grasping the Gridiron. I'm your host, Zach Dummel, as always, and thank you for the patience here. I'm getting adjusted to my new job, and so I'll slowly be putting out more and more content, but just, I'm looking for suggestions, and just really excited with the way that this college football season has gone. So, give me your thoughts and opinions in the comments section, and, like and subscribe on YouTube, and share on Spotify. And thank you for listening.